So today, what are we talking about? We're talking about cycle syncing 101. So basically, the reason why I love cycle syncing is because you're using nutrition, lifestyle, workouts, biohacking, all of this to support the rise and fall of your natural cycle. So your natural rhythm. So you're literally supporting what your body's innate pattern is versus trying to follow a guy's 24-hour cycle versus trying to do what everyone else is doing. Like you're doing what works for you and your menstrual cycle. And I've seen this just be the tipping point for people trying to lose that last little bit of weight. I've seen that be the tipping point for people's cravings and their moods. So I'm really excited for you to learn about this and to start implementing it. But first, I have to tell you the reason why I'm on the floor over here. If you're watching YouTube, if you're not watching YouTube, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But I have to humbly apologize to my podcasting editor. I'm so sorry, Anita. I bet you're going to hate me for the audio on this. Please don't hate me. But my office is under construction. And by construction, I mean it's being painted. So you guys all voted on my color of choice and we went with the with coffee. Anyway, it's being painted. And so I don't really have my office right now. And there's kind of an echo I feel like in here. I don't even know what I would do about that, but I'm on a wood floor. It doesn't have a rug and there's really nothing on the wall because this is the guest bedroom that also needs to be repainted. As you can see, we have paint samples. So that's why I'm here and I'm trying to find the last remnants of actual real light because again, my office is under construction, which has my lighting for recording because we also got a new puppy. And yeah, the only time I can really record right now is in the evening when everybody's sleeping, when the baby's sleeping and when the puppy's sleeping. But my 2 cents to anybody is never, ever, 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 ever get a little puppy when you have a 16-week-old baby. It's a bad idea. I don't know if I just didn't think that one through. No, I did think that one through. I just didn't realize how hard it would be, but I do feel like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And I've learned a lot through this process. I've learned a lot of, I shared this on Instagram the other day, but progress is made by lots of imperfect steps forward, lots of imperfect reps. And that is how I feel. I feel like that's a great way, to feel like you don't have to be perfect at cycle syncing to start seeing the benefits. You just need to start. Okay. So the thing to know about cycle syncing is that you actually need to know the 4 phases of your cycle in order to do cycle syncing. So if you don't know the 4 phases of your cycle, go back and listen to that podcast episode that is all about the 4 phases of your menstrual cycle. Podcast editor is awesome. So I'm just going to put that in the show notes for you. So when we think about the 4 phases of your cycle, I'm going to give you a brief rundown. You're going to go listen to that episode and learn how to track them. We have menses, which is when you're bleeding. We have follicular, which is when you're done bleeding, when the follicle's getting ready, is developing to release the egg. And then ovulatory phase is when we're going to ovulate. Sorry, the stand I had you on just moved a little bit. And then luteal phase is from ovulation to period. And luteal phase is the longest phase of your cycle. That one's roughly, for some people, pretty much 2 weeks, which is awesome. Okay. So this is for naturally cycling women. So this is not if you're on hormonal birth control. If you're postmenopausal and you want to just follow a rhythm because it helps you get in food variety, I actually do recommend it simply for that reason because otherwise we tend to just eat the same foods all the time, right? We'll tend to do like the same 5 meals that we love and just on repeat. And so cycle syncing can be a really useful way to get some variety in, right? And we could all use that. So, but I do think it's important that you don't see the benefits of this if you're on hormonal birth control. You just don't, okay? You have to be naturally having a natural cycle. And the thing with it is that throughout these phases, we are having different hormones. Different hormones are going to be dominant, okay? So on in the menstrual phase, which is when you're bleeding, should be 3 to 7 days. The bleeding phase should be 3 to 7 days. Hormones are at their lowest. So what you're prioritizing in terms of your emotional and mental and physical is going to be rest, reflection, gentle movement. You can move. It's not that like, oh, I'm on my period, so I should never work out. No, 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 no. You can. It's just maybe that's not the time you're going to PR, right? Your hormones are at their lowest. So for a lot of women, they may choose for yoga or Pilates or stretching or walks, or if you follow the cycle syncing workouts from Caitlin, who's one of our coaches in the Hormone Reset program, she does a lower weight, higher reps during this time. This is a great way to still be getting your weightlifting in, but to support it for your cycle. And then when you're thinking about your nutrition, this is my favorite part. You're bleeding, guys. So you're going to want to be focusing on what? Iron-rich foods. You're going to want to focus on mineral-rich foods. You're going to be focusing on potassium-rich foods. You're going to be focusing on vitamin C-rich foods because vitamin C supports iron absorption. You're going to be focusing on warming foods because according to Chinese medicine, cold brings pain, warm takes away pain. So that's going to be like stews and bone broth and soups and all that kind of stuff. And since we are currently in the hot summer months, unless you live in Australia, we're probably getting cold, right? It's getting cold for you guys. You may be like, I don't want to eat all of those things. Well, at least can we not have smoothies, like ice cold drinks on our period? Can we at least start there? That would be a good, if you don't want to eat like soups, maybe do stews or chilies or things like that. One of my favorite things to do during this phase is I love some good old beef liver. Well, I hate beef liver. Like, I hate the taste of beef liver, but I love the benefits of beef liver, especially around this time. And so chili is one of my go-to meals during this time. And I will scrape, like I have frozen beef liver and I just use a cheese grater and I put that into the chili. You cannot taste it when you do it like that. So that's a great way to do it. It's also a great way to get warmth and spice. And you also want to think about how you can support easier digestion during this time. Okay, that's going to be really important. So, easy to digest foods. So, sorry, I kind of said that backwards. You want to focus on foods that are easy to digest. So that's why soups and stews are also great. If I like to focus on the rice in this phase to be wild rice because it's higher in potassium, I love sweet potatoes and ginger. You guys are catching the trend here, right? Obviously, like for a full like cycle syncing guide and all of that, step by step, we do that in the Hormone Reset program. We literally are like, here are your recipes, or your Pinterest boards. Here's your recipe cycle syncing ebook. Like, let's break that down for you step by step. But this is 101. This is supposed to give you the basics. So if you want to dive deeper into this and you want like, yes, I want all of the support. I want to reset my hormones because that's literally what the Hormone Reset program is. It's you've been struggling with hormones, we fix them for you. You can go do that in Hormone Reset program. If you're in any way like, I think I need this, but I'm not sure, just book a free consult call. You're going to talk to Alexis, one of my past clients, and we're going to go over all your symptoms. Just go to bit.ly/HRP free call and get on our schedule. Share your story. Let us know what's going on. Let's enjoy our summer because we feel good. Anyways, back to your cycle. After you're done with your menstrual phase, you go into your follicular phase. Okay, so this is when you're done bleeding. And if you're someone that goes, well, I bleed for 3 weeks or my cycles are irregular, or yes, you can still cycle sync, but if you are one of those women whose cycles are irregular, you bleed a lot, you need the Hormone Reset program. Okay. Follicular phase. Estrogen is rising. So this is your cycle. So we have over here, we have our period. Hormones are at their lowest. And as we enter our follicular phase, estrogen's rising. And so when estrogen reaches its peak up here, it's going to go back to the brain and say, hey, we're at our peak. And then brain goes, great, ovaries release LH hormone. And so you'll get an LH surge, which is what is going to trigger ovulation when we get to that phase. We're not there yet. We're still in the follicular phase where estrogen is rising. testosterone is starting to increase as well. So energy is increasing. Estrogen gets such a bad rap. People are like, estrogen causes cancer and estrogen dominance causes all these issues. But you also really like estrogen because you like the benefits of it. You love the creativity. You like the fact that it's easier to put on muscle. You like the fact that it literally makes you feel sexier. Yes, all of these things. We need estrogen to get pregnant, we need it to get high enough up to create cervical mucus, to get pregnant. We need estrogen, right? But estrogen unchecked, we don't love so much. Okay. So that is where the foods that we focus on in this phase, I personally think are such a game changer because they focus on detoxification of estrogen. So as estrogen's coming up, we're supporting it, but we're also supporting it moving on out when it's done. Okay. So in emotional wise, this is creativity. This is planning. This is the first day of the rest of your life vibes. This is, I'm going to like meet up with friends for coffee. I'm going to do networking. I'm going to start big things. I'm going to do calls. And then workouts, we're doing cardio. If you like cardio, I mean, everybody should like cardio to some extent. Weight training is when we're getting strong, you guys. And then foods. So I focus on cooling protein so we can support the lower body temp at this time. So that's chicken, turkey, white fish, and I get a lot of soluble fiber in. So soluble fiber is going to be very supportive of detoxing and moving out estrogen as needed, and lots of liver support. Yes, we focus on all of that in the luteal phase as well, but here it's the cooling proteins. Sprouts are a good one. So the broccoli sprouts, the alfalfa sprouts, all the sprouts are great during this time. I'm focusing on a lot of cruciferous vegetables as well. So that's your broccoli, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts. I love some resistant starch during this time to feed my good bacteria. So what is resistant starch? So it's starch that's been cooled completely. You can reheat it again. It now becomes a resistant starch, which lowers its glycemic index, but it also feeds your good bacteria. The other thing that we love about estrogen, I forgot to say this before, is it actually helps sensitize you or sensitize your cells to insulin, which means you actually handle carbs better. And we need carbs to ovulate. We need carbs to support the conversion of T4 to T3 in our thyroid, and it helps ovulation. Sorry if you're watching the YouTube video and I keep squinting, the sun is setting and it's like blaring in my eyes. So when we're thinking about our foods, good resistant starch would be white potatoes or the little, what are those little potatoes called, you guys? Russet potatoes? Cooked, fully cooled. What I like doing if I'm going to be having those is I like chopping up a ton of them and then baking them, and then I warm them up and put them with my eggs and my peppers and whatever I want for breakfast. Chicken sausage. So good. Can top it with your alfalfa sprouts. I've already taught you guys how like make your sprouts. I won't like bore you with that again, but I loved after I did that episode and you guys sent me all like the ways that you grow your sprouts because you're awesome for sharing that. Okay. So those are the types of foods that I would be focusing on in that time. And also, I am waiting for Versio Wellness to come out with their new product that's going to change the cycle syncing game with mushrooms. When that comes in, I'll talk to you about how I would use mushrooms and teas and drinks for cycle syncing. So I'm going to save that for another episode. This is going to be more like food and stuff like that. Okay, so those are the foods that I would focus on. This is also the phase, follicular phase. Because you are more sensitive to insulin, I play around with making sure you are finished eating no later than like 6:30 in the evening, so you can have a nice long window for your body to clear all of the insulin, for our gut to support itself at nighttime, for digestion to calm down, for optimal sleep. So follicular phase, I think, is a great time to really focus on really nailing the not eating after like 6:30, so your body can have that whole time to just reset and clear out all of the insulin. And I find that this is also really useful for helping sensitize your cells even more long term to insulin. And this is something we play around with clients who are insulin resistant, is we really utilize the follicular and ovulatory phase strategically, and it really makes a really big difference when we can personalize that. And then ovulatory phase is probably everybody's favorite. This is estrogen peaks, testosterone peaks, and then LH, you'll get that surge because that's when you ovulate, right? Now, I wouldn't like to see ovulation any later than cycle day 21. Once you get past cycle day 21, then it goes, you're heading into the territory of irregular cycles. But if you're someone that ovulates on day 16 or 17, totally fine, totally fine. I typically think about the ovulatory phase starting when you start creating cervical mucus and ends when you get that TEM spike and you ovulate. So you're naturally more magnetic, you're naturally more outgoing, you're naturally more empathetic. Great time for hard conversations, I always say. Great for social events, big projects, workouts, high intensity, heavy lifting. If you like high intensity, I hate high intensity, but if you like it, knock yourself out. Nutrition. We're anti-inflammatory foods. If you are somebody that is sensitive to histamines, this is a really good time to make sure you're not eating a lot of histamines. I would actually be focusing more so on anti-histamine foods, like vitamin C, for example, nettle, for example. Those are really great ones. Nettle is also really high in potassium. So that's great. Again, with the fiber. I know, again, with the fiber, Leah. The food in the ovulatory phase is very similar to the food in the follicular phase. The only thing that I would say differently is I would bring in more support for antihistamines. So I would bring in more vitamin C. I would bring in more nettle. That is where my focus would be. And then really making sure you're on top of pooping. You should always be on top of pooping, but you really need to be pooping as you head into that luteal phase. So if you're somebody that's not pooping, have you tried chia seed pudding? And it's really easy to make. I just take 1 cup of coconut milk, or if you do dairy, I do raw milk, and then 3 tablespoons of chia seeds, and you mix it up and you let it sit overnight and get all gelatinous and ooey gooey. And I absolutely abhor the texture, but that's okay because I blend it. So I take it out in the morning and I put it in my blender with a chocolate protein powder. If you take the Paleo Valley bone broth chocolate one, put that in there, and then top with berries. So good. You will like that. That's a fiber punch. You're getting your protein in with your protein powder, and a little bit with the chia seeds, and then obviously some with the raw milk if you use that, or you don't really have much protein in coconut milk. That is such a good one to have during this time because it's such a good soluble fiber support, great pooping support. Berries are so great. They're high in ellagic acid, which helps neutralize estrogen quinones, which that's like a whole topic for another thing. Basically, if your body is not metabolizing estrogen correctly, this is something that can really come in and help. So that's what I would focus on. These are the foods I would focus on in this phase for that reason. Again, all about the science, like what's going on with the hormones and how can we support that? Again, is it the only thing I eat is chia seed pudding every single day? No, but maybe my breakfasts shift over to chia seed pudding in the ovulatory phase. Maybe I shift over drinking into a lot of nettle tea and eating more citrus and eating more, what's the word I'm looking for? Peppers. Colorful peppers are really high in vitamin C and things like that. It's just these subtle things. Kiwi, really high in vitamin C. Again, you shift into adding more of these types of foods. It's not that you don't ever eat any of the other foods. It's just like, where's my focus coming in for this phase? Okay. And then luteal phase is after ovulation to your period. Progesterone is now becoming the top hormone, and estrogen dip is coming down. It will have one more slight rise mid phase. So it's more of a time of reflection, time to slow down, check things off your list. It's a great to-do list finisher, a great time of kind of coming a little bit more into self-reflection. It doesn't mean you don't like people, you don't see people, or unless you have PMDD, then you probably don't like people during this time. I get that. This is where I still do strength training, but maybe I'm not trying to hit my personal reps. Pilates, walking. If you are really trying to see changes in body composition, you do have to continue your strength training throughout your whole cycle. It doesn't mean like, oh, luteal phase, you check out and you don't do it anymore. It's just you adapt it to your cycle. So again, lower the weights, bring up the reps, bring up the sets. Caitlin is really good at walking our clients through this. And then foods. So foods The focus is low glycemic carbs here because estrogen is lower, that means we're less sensitive to insulin, which means we need to make blood sugar balance beautiful times up. Okay, it should always be your full time job, but it's really important during this time because you are more prone to those roller coasters, which the more our blood sugar is going to go on the roller coaster, the more it's going to be impacting progesterone, which then more so going to be impacting PMS, more so going to be impacting your period. So blood sugar's balance is always important, but it's even more important here, especially if you're someone that deals with PMS and anxiety pre-period. So I focus on lower glycemic carbs. So like lentils and beans are examples of that. Pumpkin, squash. Sweet potatoes still have a higher glycemic index, but like I would probably continue bringing those in. They're high in B vitamins. Chickpeas are another good one. I'm going to be focusing on ginger, cinnamon, turmeric, like types of seasonings when you're cooking. Again, stir fries, great for this. I'm focusing on warming proteins, so beef, salmon are great ones during this time. Magnesium rich foods, leafy greens are really high in magnesium rich foods. Make sure everything is really well cooked during this time because digestion is not that great during this time due to progesterone. I personally would probably bring in supplementation here for magnesium. If it was me, again, not medical advice, you can take it or leave it, but I probably would bring in magnesium. Again, if you're wondering what my magnesium brands are, in the show notes, we have a link that says Leah's favorites, and then scroll to the bottom, it says Leah's magnesium supplements. Just create a free account there. It's free. And go to the left once you sign in, and it will say plans, and hit the plans, and it will say magnesium supplements. And then you can see all my brands that I like for magnesium, because I think that would probably be a good idea to bring that in during this phase. In my opinion, again, talk to your doctor. You make your own decision. Okay. So how do you start syncing your life with what I just told you? Because, information's great, but information is basically useless if you don't put it together. So first of all, you have to track your cycle. So go back and listen to that episode. I personally use the app Read Your Body right now. I like that one. And then start with one thing. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, start with your workouts. I feel like that's the easiest one. Start with your workouts first. And then let's start with the nutrition. So maybe for one whole cycle, you just do your workouts. And then the next cycle, you're going to start with meats. You're going to do like cooling proteins and warming proteins, just that focus. And then maybe the next time you're going to focus on bringing in like more of the fruits and the veggies. You're like, okay, I'm going to focus on more soluble fiber. I'm going to change my breakfast and get that chia seed pudding in. I'm going to start bringing the vitamin C rich foods, you step by step, right? It's not about perfection. It's about learning your body, and you're going to go, wow, I feel really good when I focus on these foods during the cycle. I don't really care about the whole turkey. I don't really like it. Don't really care. Don't really like broccoli sprouts, even though Leah likes broccoli sprouts. And so I'm going to focus on something else. Okay. It's the imperfect reps consistently help you get to where you want to go. Okay. So layer that on. And then of course I need to talk about seed cycling, because I feel like that's one of the most basic ways of cycle syncing. And it's really simple. It's 1 tablespoon of pumpkin seeds, 1 tablespoon of flax seeds from your period to ovulation. And then you switch to sesame and sunflower, 1 tablespoon of each. So buy them whole and grind them before eating them, because they go rancid once they're ground much quicker. Make sure they're organic. If you want to buy them pre-ground and not rancid, because they are ground right before they're shipped to you, you guys know we use Funkit Wellness seeds, FUNK, in case you misheard me there. And they're a subscription, and you can use the code Leah15 to save with them. And she grinds them. They're organic. They come from B Corp Farms, and she grinds them right before shipping to you, so you don't have to worry about them being rancid. You do actually notice a difference in taste. They taste really good. They actually do, compared to just buying them from the store. But that is a great way, because that supports your estrogen. It's great in fiber. And then in the luteal phase, it's great in vitamin E and magnesium and soluble fiber to support that progesterone, but detoxification of estrogen. Okay. So just common FAQs I get about this. I'm just going to remind you, do I have to change everything at once? No. Start with small tweaks. Small tweaks go a really long way. Okay. I'm postpartum. I'm perimenopausal. Okay. Postpartum, if your cycle's not back, don't be cycle syncing. Okay. Wait until your cycle's back. Perimenopausal, yes. still do it. Postpartum, that's a whole different hormonal support that you got there. Okay. If I'm on birth control, no, true cycle syncing really only applies to your natural cycle. That's where you're going to see the benefits of it, right? What if my cycles aren't regular? Okay, so if they're like MIA, you can start with syncing with the moon. So the new moon would be the start of your period. And then, oh my goodness, the waxing is when it's getting bigger, right? The waxing would be the follicular phase. The full moon would be ovulation, and the waning would be the start of the luteal phase. If they're just kind of irregular, I would still follow your cycle. This is going to help. It will help regulate it, which is really awesome. And then, of course, if you want personalization with that and you want to just dive right in, you're like, I'm sick of trying to figure this out by myself, that's where Hormone Reset Program will help you reset your hormones. So you just go to bit.ly/HRP free call and have a consultation call, and let's hear your story. Let's see if that is a good fit for you. Biggest thing that I think that we need to think about when it comes to cycle syncing is that you need to pick one habit to start with per cycle. Don't try to change your workouts and your nutrition and try and focus on what's going on with emotions and all of that tomorrow. Okay. You're going to get overwhelmed. There's going to be too much going on. You're going to be like, this doesn't work. And you're going to throw it all in the garbage, and you're not going to feel the benefits of it. Okay. So pick one habit, start it for this cycle, add another habit, just habit stack as you go. Okay. And again, if you want to go deeper, that's what we do in the program. But what I want you to do is two things. I'm going to give you two pieces of homework. One, pick one habit out of this that you're going to start this cycle. You're going to start tomorrow. Okay. And the next, I want you to share this with somebody, one of your friends. You're like, guess what? Do you want to do this with me? That's what I want you to say. Just send it to them and say, hey, I love you. Do you want to do this with me? Okay. That's my homework for you. Make sure you do it.